I just had to get a lap dance or whatever.
It's not this last chance of freedom.
You want to be feeling good.
Welcome back to the channel. I am Arden.
And I am Christian. And I saw something that really peeved me the other day. Peeved me.
I feel like we need to use that word more.
Peeved. Insert definition below. It really irked me.
Okay, wait. Why did you go away from it? It really
because
Let's just go.
I don't know. Heightening it, I think, made me nervous.
There you go.
There it is. Healing conversations. It really peeved me.
There you go.
And I thought this should be a conversation because I don't know if I've heard it talked about much, at least outside of our household. Not that we talk about it in depth, but we are in our house right now. So I guess we are talking about it in our household. And that's the idea around bachelor and bachelorette parties. The whole celebration premaritally, I think, is so far away than what it could or should be. You know, we live around Nashville, which I'm coining as the Bachelorette city of the world.
Very much so.
You just drive downtown and you see buses of people, tractors, buses. What's it going to be, like a horse and a carriage next?
Yeah.
And people just, you know, dancing. There's swimming. There's hot tubs on some, isn't there?
Yeah, there's so much. There's hot tubs. There's strip poles. There's
a lot
of
say
interesting things.
A family member of ours has gotten on one?
A family member has gotten on one. It wasn't his. Well, it was his bachelor party, but it wasn't his bus. But he did find a way onto the bus.
It wasn't his bus.
As a challenge.
Yeah.
Not as a dare, because we wouldn't do it, but it was a challenge.
He didn't last long either.
Yeah.
He's
No.
like, oh,
No,
I did
no.
it. Yeah, they're a sight to see or to not see. Actually, it would probably be more accurate. But there's so many bachelor and bachelorette parties that happen here. And I guess, you know, it's a thriving city. There's a lot of people, a lot of things to do. It's Music City. But it really begs this kind of question is, why are we celebrating marriages in the way of going out, like partying? One last hoorah.
Yeah, like it's your last night of freedom.
Gosh, I hate that. I seriously hate that. What peeved me is what I saw on Instagram or TikTok or one of the plethora of social media platforms there are out there. I'm saying a lot of words with P's in them today. Premarital. Well, premarital celebrations.
There you go.
So the video essentially was this woman calling in. I guess it's like an advice column.
Okay.
And she was saying, hey guys, you know, I recently got married or I'm getting married and my fiance went out with his guys having his bachelor party. And I just asked him, hey, no strippers, please. I think that's a very reasonable request. And he went ahead and had strippers at his bachelor party. And his whole thing was like, oh, my friends brought them. I didn't know about it. I just had to get a lap dance or whatever. Sorry. I had to get a lap dance or whatever. And her comment was, but I asked you not to. Like, that was a clear boundary for me. And some of the guys on the show, and even one of the girls, I think was, well, it's his bachelor party, you know, YOLO situation. And they almost were like, yeah, I guess since you specifically asked him not to, maybe that was wrong. And I'm like, I'm thinking that's wrong even without the request. But I just feel like there's much better ways to celebrate it. And I think a bigger conversation of why do we feel like marriage is something that you need to have one last night of freedom from? Yeah.
I think it's just the viewership, like how we view marriage very much has been extremely skewed as what we are even saying is it's, you know, your last night of freedom, whereas marriage is not everything that you're saying no to. It's everything that you're saying yes to. Seriously. And I think it's similar to like the walk that we have with Christ is I think a lot of people see when they make a decision to follow Christ, it's like, okay, well, I said yes to Christ, which means I have to say no to all these other things. It's no, you said yes to Christ, and it means that you are saying yes to all of these incredible things that God has waiting for you. I mean, the Bible talks about John 10:10. It says, I've come so that you may have life and have a life to the fullest. That God has something so incredible waiting for you, and that comes through a covenant that you make with him when you give your life to Christ. It's the same thing for marriage.
Yeah, which is the representation of Jesus Christ's covenant with us.
And if I'm just being honest, like dialing it down to the root of things, it's a lack of maturity. Like just straight up, it's a lack of maturity of wanting to still hold on to the things that you wish you could hold on to. and not accepting what the growth period that you're about to step into, because marriage is a massive growth. I think there's the two biggest things that I've grown through in my life is one, marriage, and then two, being a dad. Like those are the two levels of maturity that you have to just grow. And when I'm talking about maturity, I'm not talking about how you act. It's just understanding like the priorities. Yeah, the responsibilities that you have within your life. I think when we go to maturity, people are often like, oh, you need to act all serious and stuff. No, it's like, no, I have to prioritize certain things in my life. And I see my life through that filter of those priorities. And that's what true maturity is in my mind.
We had a conversation about this the other day. I was just thinking is so much we want to belong to something, but we don't want to own something. And I think that actually gets us caught up in things. For me, writing it in my book that comes out soon is I recognize a sense of when I owned my past, it stopped owning me. And when we get to this place of like, we want to belong, we want to be accepted, we want to have fun with our friends, we want to not be missing out on what's going on around us, but we don't actually understand that ownership actually brings so much more value and identity and joy and, like you're saying, fullness to our lives when we say, oh yeah, I am about to be a husband, let me go ahead and act in it. So I left a comment. I pulled an Arden. I feel like I usually don't comment on things I see.
I don't comment things. I only comment on things
justice
that
oriented.
Really make me upset.
Yeah.
Like, and it is few and far between that I probably comment on one or two things.
I meant it as a compliment.
Yes, but
I commented, and not even combative, but just saying like, hey, I don't really understand this whole one last two raw idea. I think if you are setting a boundary with your spouse, that should be received. And then I even bragged on you. I said, my husband and I were far more concerned with spending that weekend or that night with the people that made our singleness great rather than searching out someone to make it feel fun. Like I wanted to celebrate with the women that were around me. Yeah. And I wanted to get excited about what was coming. And that was saying I do to my best friend, the love of my life. And what's interesting is you go back 100 years or so, and bridesmaids and groomsmen were actually people that were set to protect you. They were people that you had walked with, that had stewarded you up to this point in your life. Like kind of what you were saying, they had helped you grow in your singleness. And so it was an honor to get to stand around someone and almost like a badge of, I've been committed to this person, to their growth. Yeah. So the paradoxical statement now is like, well, these are the people that are kind of, if you think about it, making you step back and like trying to pull you back to, oh, well, you know, come be one of the guys again. Let's go do shots. Like that's just not even what that relationship dynamic is supposed to be.
Yeah. And I want to make sure it's clear that we're not trying to sit here and say, oh man, if you have this specific type of bachelor or bachelorette party, then you are wrong.
Or even like having them is bad.
Yeah, like, and that you're doing something wrong. I think what we're trying to speak to is more the mentality that's been framed around for what you're entering into. Because the thing that we've been talking about a lot recently is we really don't want to call people out. We want to call them up. And we understand that with calling them up, it means taking on this new perspective on how you see things. And it's understanding the gravity and the weight that the call that God has on your life, that we want to speak to those things that he's placed inside of you. Not trying to call you out for the things that maybe have gone wrong. And so that's what we're wanting to make sure we're doing with this conversation.
Yeah, it's more the practice than the people behind
exactly, the heart behind it. It's not this last chance of freedom. It's really like what I see bachelor parties as being. It's what you said. It's the celebration with the people that have been in your life that have made you the man that you are. And that's, that's your friends, that's your brothers. And that's like, I'm maybe not the best person to speak to like how a bachelor party should be. I planned a great one for my brother that I think was really fun. And it was,
the twerk chuck.
Exactly. It crossed the line on some areas. But we made sure to keep it very,
but that's
very
a good
wholesome.
Example. What was y'all's goal in doing all the fun, heightened?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to give away because that's his bachelor party. So I don't want to go deep into it. But I will say like the depth of it, that what the intentionality was, what we did is we frameworked it around, hey, we want to have fun. And some of those things are like gave him challenges that were evolving around marriage. Like we frameworked around marriage, kind of reworded around marriage. And then we played together. So we played a game together. Like, and I remember
Was it
from
like a
my
pickleball
bachelor,
tournament?
we did football. We did
Yeah.
football on the beach. So I got all the guys that I loved in my life. And then we had a bonfire. And in that bonfire, we created the space for all of these men who have, gone through life with him, seen him at different vulnerable times. Same for me. Be able to speak into him and give
Yeah.
advice to go into that next season
Uplift.
of, hey, this is what you're entering into, and seeing from different perspectives. You have men there that are single. You have men there that are been married and have 4 kids. And it's just going through that process and being able to not see this as, hey, like, I feel like when I walked away from my bachelor party, it wasn't like, man, that was a great night and I wish I could just continue to keep having this. It was, no, I'm so excited to enter into this next season, because I felt like I was equipped by the men around me, felt like I was spoken into. I enjoyed my time with them. I had fun with them. I got to do some fun stuff, but then also I felt prepared for the next season I was about to step forward, and exciting and expectation, not regret and remorse as I'm going into that next step.
Right. The analogy that comes up, which is just so funny. I feel like my being married to an athletic guy and being a boy mom is showing. But I think about a team getting ready for a huge tournament that they've been preparing for years, practicing weekly, daily. You wouldn't want to go out the night before and just get wasted or hurt yourself or do something that would compromise what you're walking into. And I think it's the same mentality of however you're celebrating. And there's more things we could talk about of if you're doing premarital counseling or like the friends that are in your life, the people that are even speaking into your marriage. Whatever that practice is like you want to do something that's continuing the hard work you've already put in and the person you're marrying, and continues to ramp you up of like, okay, it's almost a big day. Like I'm excited, I'm prepared, I'm energized, and it fulfills you to get ready.
That's funny that you said perform well, because it made me literally think about the wedding night.
As soon as I said it, I was
I
like,
love
wait,
it.
that's going to come
That's where my
across.
mind went, of course. But she was talking about the sports.
What about the wedding night?
But yeah, there you go. But what I was going to say is, going off of that is, so my dad officiated our wedding. And he said, the people that you have gathered around you are all the people that are going to be alongside you in your marriage. And they're going to be there for you, to pray over this marriage, committed to pray over this marriage, to support this marriage, to come alongside it. And I think that made me really like evaluate and be really thankful for the people that I did have part of my groomsmen. Because, some of those are all different walks that they're in, and different lives and different experiences, encounters that I've had in my life. But I was so thankful that I do have those men all intentionally thinking about me and praying for me as I go forward. And, I don't think a single one of my groomsmen besides my brothers live in the same state as me now. But I know that I'm on their mind, that our marriage is on their mind. And then if I picked up the phone and I called any of them, that they would be there.
And vice versa too.
Yeah. And so, and that was great. And I'm glad that I got that time with those guys.
So pick your friends wisely is what I'm hearing you say. Because even that video I watched, they were like, oh, but my friends got this stripper. What are your friends doing to help prepare you? I think it's a good question too. And
I will say, I had a moral dilemma that I had a conversation with one of my friends a couple months back. And he was telling me, he said, I'm going down to be a part of my brother's bachelor party. And he's like, he's a pastor. And he said, but my brother's not saved. And he said, and I know that they've got strippers and all this stuff. And so he was trying to figure out what to even do. Because I do think there's two different standards. Like, that is the world standard of, hey, this is a bachelor party. But I think it's that intentionality that we as believers have to come into realization as, and of course, this is what we believe is it's a different mindset, and that comes with a renewing process of your mind and how we step into that and how we view it.
Yeah. And we can even scale it back, I think, too, is, again, we don't want to say this is what you can do and this is what you can't do, but it's like, what are you choosing to do in the highs, in the celebration moments, and even in the mundane daily task? Is what you're doing and choosing the people you're around, the things you're partaking in, is it uplifting you? Is it readying you? Is it preparing you? I mean, even just day to day, it's not like, not every day you're having to decide, am I going to go somewhere that makes you feel uncomfortable, but like just be in tune with your gut and with your mind and honestly with your heart as well, to be able to have a compass. I think that's a good way to phrase it, is like knowing your compass and your internal motives and goals. Am I online or am I ever stepping out? And it just helps you quickly ready yourself back to a place of like, you want to be feeling good. You want to feel like you're not swaying, you're taking one step forward and two steps back. And that's kind of the overarching thing here, is not just how are you going to plan your bachelorette party. Maybe someone watching is actually planning their bachelorette party and was hoping for more practical advice, so we can end on that. But we always go so deep on these rabbit holes, I feel like. But that is a unique circumstance that your friend was in, and that speaks more to how he's there for people that see things differently than him. I would say I'm curious what you told him, but in the situations you're planning, the people that are speaking into your life, just make sure there's a good steady compass and you're in alignment with them.
Yeah, I mean, I told him when I had that conversation, is I went back to kind of how I interacted when I was in high school and I officially gave my life to Christ. Is I remember God gave me a period of time where I went back into the parties that I used to go and attend, and I was there for the people that needed me to. So I was not partaking in the drinking or drugs that was going on or the other stuff, but I was there and present for the people that were in their lowest moments that needed someone to speak into their life. And I never compromised. Like, I remember so many times people would be like, just have a drink with me. Like, come on, just drink, just do this. And I never compromised my values and what I knew God was calling me to. And I want to make sure that you guys heard what I said, God's calling me to. It was going back to it's not what I can't do. It's what God has before you. It's not what I'm saying no to. It's what I'm saying yes to. And what God had placed on my life, I was saying yes to those things. And so I remember I never compromised those values. And so I encouraged him. I said, look, this is a big moment in your brother's life. And I said, and I know there's things that you're not going to agree with. And I said, but what you've got to do is, one, you have to stay true to your convictions. So you can't make sure just maybe, hey, I love you so much, but I can't partake in that. Like, I can't go into doing stripper, but you know what? I'm here for you. And whatever I can do to be here for you during this time, I'm going to do that. But I'm also going to honor my convictions. Yeah. And I think that, the big part that the big dilemma that we do and the shame that we do to people was what we do shame them, basically, is, we say,
you're going there?
Yeah, like, hey, you're my brother. I can't believe you're doing that. Like, your brother does not have, if your brother's not a Christian, he does not have the same standard as you. But what he does hope and believe for is that there's going to be someone who is loving him through that process of, hey, this is maybe a down moment. And I'm not agreeing with the things that you're doing, but I am going to be here for you. And I am going to help you when you're feeling like, man, this is a big decision I'm about to go forward with.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of the salt of the earth verse. And I think of what that reciprocates to is we always want to be something that enhances. So even in hard circumstances, it's not, I'm going to shame you and separate myself, but it's, I'm going to stay true to how I am able to hear God and sit in that peace of who he's called me to be, but also still enhance. Like, hey, I'm going to be here in this way. I'm going to continue to be there and just put things in light of, if I were in that circumstance, I'd be like, hey, you know what? If y'all are out late, you need coffee in the morning, like, I will show up at your door. Just find ways to make it positives instead of making it negative.
I can't tell you how much throw up I had to clean up because I would just be there and I'm like,
I thought you meant your bachelor.
No, like at the parties when I was in high school, because I would be there for the people that needed someone to love on them. And not once did I tell them like, hey, you're going to hell kind of thing. Now, obviously, their eternal soul right there, there's Jesus other conversations that needed to happen. But I can't tell you how many times that they came to me and just said, I can't believe you're here. Like, it just means so much. And through that process, I remember one time I was at a party. I got about 11 kids that came downstairs with me and we were talking about God. And we were talking about their life. I had one kid who just lost his mom, and he was just completely asking me these questions about eternity and God. And the next day he gave his life to Christ. And so it's being there in those moments for those people, but not partaking in the things that are going to compromise, obviously, your values and your beliefs and the call of God that's upon your life.
Well, I think these are beautiful testimonies, and I'm glad we could share them to wrap this up and more of a topic genre is what is some quick practical advice or what we did that were wins from our own Bachelor and Bachelorette parties.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just making sure you have the right people around you. You want those people that are going to speak identity
that starts
and
before
life.
the party. It's
Yeah,
when you get
identity and life into you. And there's people that you want to just know that they're going to go through life with you, and they're going to be there for you. So making sure you have those people around you, because they're the people you want around you for the long haul. They're probably not the people who are asking for strippers or those things that are going to be
you
a
in
part of
places
it.
they know you're uncomfortable.
Exactly. That's what
Or
I'll say.
contradict your boundaries.
Contradicting what you were hoping for.
That's great advice. I'll share my practicals, what I did for my Bachelorette party. We went to the beach. It's a group of my bridesmaids, my close friends. We had great conversations. We enjoyed the scenery. Like, there are ways that you can go and do and have fun and celebrate. And honestly, I think for a girl, Bachelorette party is a way to feel special, heightening how special she's going to feel on her wedding day. So I got the veil. I wore a white bathing suit. My friends wore the black bathing suit. And I loved it. It was honestly your typical Bachelorette party, except for we prayed together. We had conversations of what I was looking forward to. A wedding is such a special weekend, not even just that day, but there is the things set before it that are supposed to be fun and enjoyable. Just do them in a way where you're feeling uplifted, empowered, and set on that same gaze so you can look through that wedding day. And honestly, my heart behind seeing that video was, I don't want that person feeling guilty walking down the aisle. I don't want them feeling torn in any way or like they're having some weird FOMO. I want everyone that gets to be married is to do it with expectation and with joy.
Having joy and having full trust. I think that's a big thing. Full trust in your spouse, the person that you're dedicating your entire life to. But I hope this was helpful and shed a little bit of light on it. If you guys are new to this channel, please make sure to subscribe. Leave a comment down below of any topics that you guys want us to jump into and